Okay, my brother and my sister and I were in my mom's bed on Sunday morning, and we were looking at the Sunday Funnies, which is what we always did. And I reached over to get the TV guide, so I wanted to check the creature feature movie listings and find out when all the scary movies were going to come on. And I saw an ad in the paper that changed my life. And it was from Columbia House Records and Tapes. Buy 8 records for a penny. And I did not have to read the fine print on that one. So I quickly filled out the form. I filled in my name and my address, and the only problem was I did not have a penny. And I was looking all over the house for a penny, and I finally found one under the couch cushion, and it was a smashed penny that I picked up off the railroad tracks after I put it on there. So I taped it to the form, and when I found that penny, I also found a milk dud underneath the couch cushion. So it was actually turned out to be the best day of my life. Until I popped it in my mouth and realized it was a cat turd. And then that wasn't so good. And then then I mailed it off. And then it was a waiting game from then on. I spent the next 2 weeks on the front porch by the mailbox and just waiting, and the records never came. And I thought, well, this was too good to be true anyway. 8 records for a penny, who does that? And plus that penny was not a standard issue, so I figured they probably scoffed at that. Then one day, I saw a miracle in the mailbox. It was a 12 by 12 white cardboard box with a Columbia House logo on it. And I was freaking out. I opened up the box, and inside, I couldn't even remember at that point what records I ordered, but it didn't really matter to me because they were records, and I just was so psyched. So I opened up the box, and it was like AC/DC, Aerosmith, Atlanta Rhythm Section, the Beach Boys, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Chicago, and I realized I didn't even make it to the D's on that whole list there. But why rush this thing? 8 records for a penny. I could do this deal all day long, so I wasn't going to rush it. And so it did change my life. When I started listening to those records, I was no longer living in this town that was surrounded by corn in all directions. That corn, I now had a surfer girlfriend named Lana. And all those miles of corn that lapped on the shores of our town, they turned into magical blue ocean waves, and our town became this beautiful island. And I spent my days walking along the beach with Lana, and we stopped under the pier, and we looked in each other's eyes, and we kissed, and her lips were moist, and she loved my bionic lips. I had the same size lips I do now, but my head was like this big. I didn't have time for chores after that because my social calendar was really full with luau's and tiki torches and limbo contests, and I had the fastest set of wheels in town. I had a dual quad Positraction 409. I didn't even know what lake pipes were, but Lana loved to hear them roar. And my life became so rich, and it was all thanks to Columbia House Records and Tapes. And they take really good care of you. If you forget to order another record, they just send you another one. So it's turned out to be a pretty good deal. And then one day I was coming home, and I saw my mom on the front porch, and she was not happy. She had a letter in her hand, and she was reading it, and she said, "You're getting sued from Columbia House for breach of contract, for failing to fulfill your obligation to buy 6 more records at the regular price. And if you don't come up with $27.86, we're gonna lose the house." And I pictured my whole family sitting out on the curb. All of our furniture, my Dobermans, and even my goldfish bowl. And there was no way, and I was clutching my records, and there's no way I was gonna let this happen because I needed those records. And so I knew there was only one course of action. I needed to find my best friend, Ace, because Ace could help me get out of this jam. And so I jumped on my yellow and green John Deere 10-speed, and I pedaled across town to Ace's house, and I went through the living room, and his mom was downstairs watching All-Star Wrestling on TV. And she always watched All-Star Wrestling. She knew all the wrestling moves. And so I went upstairs and I found Ace laying in his bed reading a comic book. And I said, Ace, put down that Superman comics, man. I need your help. You know all those records we've been listening to? Turns out I gotta pay for them. And Ace was so calm. He's like, Pat, when there's trouble, there's only one guy that can get us out of it. Captain America. See, Ace had been wearing a Captain America costume since last Halloween. He wore it every single day. He wore it for his pajamas, and then he wore it every time he left the house. He wore it under his clothes. And he said it was because it made him feel strong and invincible. And his last name was synonymous with ass-kicking because of some stuff that happened I won't go into. And so I immediately felt like I was in good hands, and I felt like I was invincible. And Ace was like, all we need to do is get past my mom. So we tiptoed down the steps, and she's still down there watching All-Star Wrestling, and we tried to get past her, and then she saw us out of the corner of her eye, and she said, Ace, get over here and give me a hug before you leave this house. And this was like a move right out of Bobby the Brain Heenan's playbook. And I knew that Ace was walking into a trap. And sure enough, as soon as he went over to her, she put him in a headlock. And she started digging her hands down his shirt. You're not wearing that costume again, are you? You're not leaving the house wearing that costume. And sure enough, she could feel that stinky, tattered, smelly costume underneath him. But Ace watched a lot of All-Star Wrestling too, so he knew all the moves too. So next thing I know, Ace pulled a really clean reversal, and he was on her back and got her into a standing camel clutch. This was a famous chinlock move made famous by the Iron Sheik. And then the next thing I know, she's tapping out on the TV. And so we ran out the back door where his old man was working on his Eldorado, and he was no help at all. He was like, I'd like to help you boys, but you're too lazy to work and you're too scared to steal. And Ace and I was like, you know what? He's right. He's right. We got to come up with a scam to make this money. So Ace ran back into this garage and got his BB gun. And it hadn't worked in years, but it was full of BBs, and it made a lot of noise when you shot it. And I was like, what are you going to do with this BB gun? He goes, Pat, just trust me. Just trust me on this one. It could come in handy. So he jumps up on the handlebars, and I start pedaling away, and then we start going down Galena Avenue, and every time on the down pedal, this BB gun smacked me in the chin, and I could just smell that stinky Captain America costume on. And he said, just go down Monroe Avenue, go behind the A&P, just trust me. So I pedaled down, I got behind the A&P, and I put my bike up against the building, and it was a hot day, and Ace decided to get a box out, a cardboard box, and he climbed inside, and we poked 3 holes in the top for air holes, and then we set 3 Falstaff cans on top of that box. So, and then we had been watching a lot of Rifleman and Lucas McCain, and so I started cocking up that gun, and then I started aiming at those cans. And when I pulled the trigger, Ace stuck his finger up through the hole and knocked one of the cans off. And he's like, I could hear him inside the box, nice shot, Pat. And then I could hear his old man's voice in my head, you boys are too lazy to work and too scared to steal. And I was thinking, this is a perfect scam to make some money. And when you got a good scam like that, there's 3 things that really make it work. Location, location, location. So Ace climbed back in the box. He fit in there real nice because he was about the size of a standard poodle. And I dragged it out on the corner on 3rd and Monroe Avenue, and then we just waited for some customers. And then, Ace is in the box like, Pat, I'm suffocating here, man. I got to get out of here. I'm suffocating. And then I was like, here comes Kenny. Kenny comes walking down the trail from the railroad tracks, and his Fat Albert's little brother. And I knew he had money because he was going to the A&P, and kids go there when they want to get some candy. And I was like, hey, Kenny, you want to shoot with me? He's like, yeah, I'll shoot. He starts grabbing for the gun. I was like, hold on, you got to pay to play on this game. And I said, I'm going to give you 3 shots, 10 cents a shot. And if you can knock down 1 can, you get 50 cents. Well, Kenny, he was not a good shot. He didn't get any cans down. And then so we quickly relieved him of his money and then sent him packing back up the trail over the railroad tracks. And at this point, Ace was like dying inside this box because it was a hot day in Illinois. And I was like, he's like, I got to get out of here, Pat. And I was like, hang on, here comes Deal. And Danny Deal comes walking up. And I was like, hey, Danny, you wanna take a shot and try to knock down a couple of cans? You can make some good money right here. All it costs you is $0.25 a shot. You knock down 1 can, I'll give you $1. He couldn't knock any cans down. And so he was done, and then the next thing I know, Wolfie comes walking up from across the street, and I was like, hey, Wolfie, how you doing? And I said it loud enough so Ace could hear, because Ace and I knew, and everyone in town knew, you don't mess with a wolf. If you mess with a wolf, you mess with Old Man Wolf, you mess with all the Wolf brothers, you even mess with the grandma and grandpa. And it's like knocking over a hornet's nest when you got all the wolves coming at you. And Wolfie's like, hey, I'm good. I'm a good shot. Let me take a shot. I just went hunting with my dad today. And so I go, he started grabbing for the gun. I was like, hold on, Wolfie. It's 25 cents a shot. You know, you knock down 1 can, you get $1. And by this point, our pockets were getting kind of full, so it was working out real well. And Wolfie, I don't know, he was just having a bad day. He couldn't knock any cans down either. It would have helped if the actual BBs would have came out, but it'd been years since that, but it sure sounded like a real gun. And Wolfie couldn't get any cans down. He was getting really upset. And then he just stormed off, and I should have let him go. But I was getting desperate. You boys are too lazy to work. You're too scared to steal. So I said, Wolfie, come back. Let's just do this, double or nothing. 1 more shot for $1. You knock down 1 can, I'll give you $5. He couldn't do it. And then he stormed off across the street. And so then, you know, a crowd of little kids kind of gathered around, and they were looking at us, and, you know, there was no customers, so I decided to put on a little show, because I figured, you know, get a crowd there, you know, it's going to be good to get some customers in. So I started shooting over my shoulder backwards and knocking like every can over. And I was like, watch this, kid. See that light pole? See that telephone pole? I'm going to bank a BB up there. It's going to go over there. I'm going to get all 3 cans down at once. All 3 cans. And so I took a shot, all 3 cans down. Next thing I know, here comes Wolfie back across the street. He's got a brand new Daisy air rifle. And he's like, I'm going to use my gun. My gun, I know this gun's got a good shit. It's got a good aim, because I just tested it. And I was like, hold on. I was trying to explain to him, you know, game's over. You know, we're not doing this. This one's over. So, you know, you really can't, you know, I got to go. I got to go. And so Wolfie was like, no way. I want a chance to win my money back. So Wolfie, we're like, okay. So I'm like, I doubled down. I said, all right, Wolfie, it's $1 a shot. You get 1 shot down. You knock 1 can down, you know, I'll give you all the money in my pocket, and I'll give you this new little Hiawatha little leather wallet that I just got. Stole it from my sister. And so I'm like, I'm trying to give Ace a cue so he knows exactly when Wolfie's gonna shoot. And I said, hold on, Wolfie, give Deal the money. You hold the money, Deal, and on the count of 3, you shoot. And I said, 1, 2, 3. And right before he pulled the trigger, Ace was in the box, and he jumped inside the box and made the whole box move a foot to the right. And Wolfie missed it, and all the little kids started laughing. It was just hilarious. And then Wolfie was really ticked off, and he fired a shot right through the middle of that cardboard box. He didn't even like try to hit a can, and he shot Ace right in the chest. And I could hear Ace in there going, ah, Wolfie, you son of a biscuit. And then Wolfie was like, I knew he had to be around here somewhere. Wherever you're at, he's around. And so Wolfie went over there and kicked the box over, and Ace was down there, still on his hands, his knees, and he still had his finger up. And then Wolfie kicked Ace in the breadbasket, and Ace, there's no way Ace could take that. And then they started wrestling around on the ground. All the little kids were like, fight, 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 fight. And then Ace got tired of wrestling, and he just stood up, and Ace punched Wolfie in the face, and he got a bloody nose. He ran across the street, and we were just picturing this hornet's nest of wolves coming out after us. So we jumped on my John Deere 10-speed, and we started heading down to Lincoln Market. And we had a pocket full of money. We didn't know how much, but it really didn't matter because we only had one goal. We were going to buy every damn Slim Jim in that store. And so we walked in the store past Clarence. He was working behind the register. He was the owner of Lincoln Market. And we ran back by the Slim Jims, and I was like, Ace, we got a problem. There's only one Slim Jim. And Ace was freaking out. He's like, Clarence, you got any more Slim Jims? You got any more Slim Jims? Hurry up, Clarence, it's an emergency. And Clarence comes out with a new box of Slim Jims. There's 10 Slim Jims in the box. And Clarence is like, how many you want, Ace? And Ace is like, I'll take every damn Slim Jim you got. And he's like, what the hell are you going to do with all them Slim Jims, Ace? And Ace was like, we're going to make history. And he was right. We were going to make history because we had come up with the biggest scam that Dixon, Illinois had ever seen. And to pull up a scam like this, you need impeccable timing and exquisite luck. And we had none of that. But what we did have was 11 Slim Jims, and in a couple hours, there was going to be a bunch of drunks stumbling out of the back of the 621 Club. And all we needed was Petey. Petey was a little stray dog, lived on Lincoln Street. And Ace and I were the only guys that ever fed this dog, and we always fed him Slim Jims. And Petey could smell a Slim Jim from 2 blocks away. And so we're like, we got to find Petey. So Ace cracked open a Slim Jim, and it was like the quiet before the storm. And all of a sudden, we heard a rustling, a garbage can getting knocked over, and the sound of little tiny paws running across the gravel. And Petey comes running. We're like, hey, Petey. And Ace picked him up, and we gave him half the Slim Jim. And we were talking real nice to Petey. We're like, you like those? We got lots more where that comes from. All you got to do is come with us across the bridge to the 621 Club. So we scooped up Petey, and Ace was like, it's getting dark. We better get going. So we rode our bikes double across the bridge, and he was holding Petey on his lap. And then we got to 621, or the Guys and Gals Pool Hall in the alley behind there. And all the guys were already there hanging out. There was Scotty, Donnie, Tommy, Snooky, Bookie, and so we pulled up, and it wasn't going to be long before the guy started stumbling out of the back of the bar, and right at that moment, Crazy Badger made the scene. It was the first time I met this guy. Crazy backstory from this guy, but I knew the first time I laid eyes on Crazy Badger, there's going to be trouble. He comes to pimp rolling up from down by the river. And he walks past all of us like we were a line of fresh recruits, and he was like a deranged drill sergeant. And I remember the last time I saw Crazy Badger before I left town, I had graduated high school, and I was in Guys and Gals playing Evel Knievel pinball. And he walks in, and he tries to shake me down for money. He leans up against me and tries to push me off the pinball game. And I was a lot bigger at 17 and a half than I was on that day. So I started pushing back. And I was like, hey, Badger, I'm leaving town tomorrow, man. I don't got any money. And that's when I saw Crazy Badger's soft side, because he stopped twisting my arm behind my back and wasn't going to break it anymore. And he reached in his pocket, and he pulled out 50 cents and handed it to me. He's like, here, now you got some money. Now give me your money. And then he took it back. And that's a game that he played with me for years. But that night, he was like a deranged drill sergeant. He walked past Scotty, Tommy, Donnie, Snooky, and Bookie. He even walked past little Petey, and he stopped right at me and looked me in the eyes. And he started taking his fingers and pounding them in my chest, saying, hey, my name's Badger. I'm from Chicago. I got a gun. I'm gonna kill you. I thought my life was over at that moment, but Crazy Badger must have gotten thirsty because he went in the 621 Club to get a drink. And so then the epic scam was about to unfold. and we waited for our first customer to come out. Guy by the name of Pheasant. Pheasant comes walking out, and I had Petey, and I walked up to Pheasant. I said, "Hey, Pheasant, you want to buy a dog? He's a real good dog. He's a good watchdog. It's only $5. You could take him home right now. You can buy him from us." And Pheasant was like, "Oh, you guys, I love you guys." He was like happy drunk. So he gave us $5, and we handed Petey over to him, and then he started walking away. And he got about a half a block away. And I leaned over to Ace, and I said, "He's getting pretty far away, man. You better crack open that Slim Jim." And then Ace was like, "No, just wait, Pat. I want to wait till he gets to the point of no return." And I said, "What's the point of no return?" He's like, "1.5 blocks. Pheasant's too drunk. He will not walk back 1.5 blocks to get his money back." So we let Pheasant we watched Pheasant and Petey get smaller and smaller until he was a clear 1.5 blocks away. And Ace was like, "That's it, the point of no return." And he cracked open a Slim Jim, and we saw a commotion. And Petey was struggling to get away, and Pheasant could not hold him, and Pheasant finally let go of his grip, and Petey got down on the ground. I'd never seen a dog run that fast to get back to us. He ran all the way back. He's faster than a streak of lightning. Now, the beauty of this scam is that you don't need a lot of inventory. You just need one dog. And so Pheasant, I could hear Pheasant just like kind of like in the background, like, "Oh, I want that dog back, you guys." And then, so the next guy that comes out of the bar is Catfish. Catfish comes out, and Ace walks up to him and says, "Hey, Catfish, you want to buy a dog? This is a real good dog. He don't have fleas, and he's trained. He don't eat much either. You just got to give him like a meat stick, he'll eat that." And so Catfish was like, I want to get a dog, and my wife's always yelling at me, "You spent all your money at the damn bar again." "Well, I got a dog. He's my friend. It's better than I could say about you." And so Catfish walks away with this dog. He gave us $10. And then, half a block, point of no return. We cracked open a Slim Jim, and then there was a disturbance. And Petey jumped out of his hands and skyrocketed back to us. And then we were like, wow, we got $15. We only need one more customer, and I'm up to I can easily get to $27.86. I can pay off those greedy lawyers at Columbia House, and I can save the house. And so then right after that, when Petey came back, we gave him a whole meat stick. And then Ace started getting really excited. I was like, "What is it, Ace? What is it?" He's like, it's Smokey. He's coming out of the bar. He works for my dad. He works with my dad. I know he just got paid too. And the thing about Smokey that we loved is Smokey was like one of those drunks that loved kids with an entrepreneurial spirit. I remember the summer before that, we got tasked with selling frozen pizzas door to door to raise money for the Lincoln School uniforms. And while all the other kids were like walking up and humping up and down the street, selling pizzas door to door, Ace and I sat under the shade and we waited for a while, and then we just went straight to the 621 Club, and we went in there and sold every one of those pizzas to Smokey. And he's, I love you, kid. You're so entrepreneurial. And then he didn't even eat the pizzas. We actually found the pizzas in the dumpster behind the 621 Club. And so we took them all home and ate them. And so when Smokey came out, we were like, "Hey, Smokey. Hey, Smokey." Ace was like, "Smokey, you want to buy a dog? He's a real good dog. I mean, you should buy this dog, take him home. He'd be a good watchdog for you." And Smokey was like, "Oh, man, I love you kids. Look at you guys out here making an honest living. Well, all these other kids in town, you're all out there getting in trouble, trying to pull scams all the time." He's like, "You know what? You keep that cute little dog. Here's $20. And so we had $35, and I made it. I had the money. So I thought. That's when Crazy Badger came back out of the bar and snuck up from behind me, and he grabbed me by my ankles, and he lifted me up over his head, and he shook me really hard until all the money fell out of my pockets. And then the next thing I know, I'm laying in the gravel, and I could see Badger walking back down by the river, counting his money, counting my money. And I looked up at Ace, and Ace was just smiling and shaking his head. And I was like, what the heck are you smiling for, Ace? How am I going to pay off these lawyers? How am I going to save this house? And Ace just kept smiling, and he took off his shoe. And underneath the sole of his shoe, he pulled out 3 sweaty, stinky $10 bills. And he said, I've been saving this money since Christmas. And I was going to buy a new bike. But I just found out my grandma's getting me a new one for my birthday. Here, Pat, I want you to have this money. I want you to pay off them lawyers. And I want you to save the house. And so I was like, wow, I really made it this time. But I looked around to see if Badger was anywhere around, and I took that money and I shoved it in my pocket. And I was like, wow, I actually made it this time. So I thought. A week after that, I sent the money in to pay off the lawyers. And the following day, I got another record in the mail. Barry Manilow. I didn't order Barry Manilow. I didn't like Barry Manilow. I hated Barry Manilow. My sister ordered that record. But Ace was so cool. He's like, Pat, we should listen to it just the same. And so we listened to it like 20 times in a row. And after that, we loved Barry Manilow. He was like our favorite artist. And after that, it was just a matter of Ace and I living in this fantasy world where we chased around this lady named Lola. And she was this showgirl. And she had like yellow feathers in her hair, and like her dress was cut down to there. And she worked at the Copa Cabana. And we fought over who got to be Tony or Rico. And it was a sad ending because Lola lost her Tony, and she lost her youth, and she lost her mind. And the records just kept coming. Thank you.